Morning, happy Friday. 10 miles Friday Ascension update. It's actually my second time out here this morning because I was recording earlier on and was kind of looking at various aspects, and I kind of had a rethink about what it is at the moment that is the most prevalent or the most important thing that we're looking at. And the answer keeps coming back to me again and again. It's compassion. Okay, now we have just experienced, or are in the process of experiencing, the most turbulent periods of our lives. I mean, obviously over the course of our incarnations we've all had personal circumstances which have forced us awake or allowed us to wake up in kind of our own kind of set of circumstances. But at the moment everything around us is changing. Now, by the time we get to the winter solstice, we will have 1 year left of the first decade of the 20-year period of change. So since the beginning of the cosmic moment, since the beginning of the push for Gaia to move from third dimensional to fifth dimensional in such a short space of time, we've actually nearly done. We're nearly at the halfway mark. We're at the point now where change is inevitable. Change is something which we are all experiencing on our ascension pathway, and we're not really being given any options for it anymore. It's funny because for years and years we've all gathered together in ascension classes, be they kind of together as big groups listening to a teacher or a speaker, or reading books, or online, or just simply gatherings of like-minded souls. And we've wished for change, we've pushed for change. Everything that we've done for ourselves and for that of the betterment of this planet has all been about asking for this goal, this dangling golden carrot at the end of the tunnel, the fifth dimension, the target point. And now we're nearly halfway through. We are actually starting to see the tangible results of A, what we've wished for, and B, what was already decreed to occur many thousands of years ago, when all of us and the higher realms and all of the beings that live and work with planet Earth decided that this would be the time, this would be the date, this would be the period where everything changes from its previous form into its higher form. So here we are now, we're nearly, very nearly, slap bang directly in the middle of that shift. This is the most turbulent point. Okay, this is the point where everything is beginning to change. Everyone knows it's beginning to change. Even the people that aren't keyed into the change are aware of it occurring, but on a completely different platform of understanding. And we've got no real idea of where it's going, what shape it's going to present itself in, even what life is going to be like next week. And this is what we've been dealing with now for, I reckon it's going to be 2 years. It's going to be 2 years of this intensive shifting come this December. I really started to see the kind of the sparks flying in the winter solstice in 2019. Yeah, it's 2019, the winter solstice in 2019, and that marked the changes, the gateway opening for what we are experiencing at the moment. Now, one of the first things that occurred is that there was a consciousness division on this planet. As soon as the changes hit, it's almost like the the various levels of where people are, how much of the veil still exists over the eyes, how awake they are. All of this has become increasingly visible. It's become an everyday occurrence for us to be sharing space with people that are simply not seeing reality as we do. A lot of this is due to the ongoing and very intensive disconnection of the Ultra Major Chakra. Now, the Ultra Major Chakra, for those of you that heard me talk about it before, exists at the back of the neck, and it's began its clearance in January 2020, and this is when all of us began to unhook from the matrix. So that connection at the back of the neck, where it detaches, and once you've detached, it's almost like the fabric of your reality begins to change. Things that weren't visible previously start to become visible. But a lot of people are still hooked in at the moment, and this is what a lot of the ongoing work from the Seraphim is about. This is what a lot of the ongoing work from the Intergalactic Council is focusing on. What we are focusing on is providing an environment that will disconnect people from the matrix in time for them to make the choices that they have actually agreed to make on a soul level. But all around we have this division. We have division in our own camps. We have division of opinions, division of how things should be done. And most of all, a kind of like almost the only way to describe it is almost like a searing, the way I see it or the way I feel it or perceive it, it's almost like a searing contempt held amongst a lot of people for those that aren't on board, those that aren't waking up at the moment, those that haven't kept up or haven't chosen to keep up. And I think where we're going to be looking at, what we're going to be looking at very much over the next month, 2 months, 3 months, moving into the next half a year or so, which would bring us into spring 2022, is the visibility, the kind of how this stands out to us is going to be shouting even louder. So it kind of begs the question, how do we deal with this? How are we dealing with it at the moment? How are you dealing with it? How am I dealing with it? What is our day-to-day reactions? What are our day-to-day responses to those people around us that are triggering us, that we wish to see? Okay, all right. Oh no, I described that wrong. How are we responding to those that we believe should be seeing what we are seeing? How are we treating them? How are we interacting with them? What energy are we sending from our hearts to them? Especially if they're in positions of what we would regard as there's this kind of almost dangerous authoritarian kind of, it's very fashionable at the moment for the authorities to be flexing and exerting their pressure upon the masses in order to attempt to control them, even though if you were looking at it from an etheric viewpoint, the awakening around this planet looks like a bushfire in the driest part of the mountains, where if you imagine a hot country, say Greece or Portugal, that's been cooked by the sun all summer, and all of a sudden one part of it gets lit and the whole thing just goes up in flames. Those of you that live in those areas will know how a wildfire spreads. And at the moment, the awakening around this planet is spreading like that. It is uncontrollable, it's unstoppable. It's tearing through the realities that are shared by various levels of consciousness. And we've been pushing this, we've been fanning the flames. We are the wind that moves these flames even faster. But at the same time, I'm seeing or feeling this continual stoked anger, this division, this expectation of what people should be doing, where people should be, how they should be thinking, how they should be viewing, and how they should be treating other people. And for the absolute best and the smoothest and the most beautiful outcome for what we are experiencing at the moment, it has to boil back, it has to come back to the heart, it has to come back to compassion. Diana Cooper and I were talking yesterday, and we were talking about several chapters of the first book that we wrote together, The Archangel Guide to Ascension. And one of the chapters later on in the book was the path of loving kindness, which is an ascension pathway. It simply is it's an ascension pathway, or one of many ascension pathways that embodies an angelic view. Okay, it's obviously you have to be very disciplined to do this. It's very challenging. Once you've embodied this pathway, everything comes up to challenge that heart-centeredness that you strive for. And I think many of us can relate to that at the moment. Okay, if you want to know what the best way to navigate what we are experiencing at the moment, it's ask yourself, how would an angel deal with the situation that I'm being presented with? A lot of the stuff that we see and feel and is being thrown at us is very real, it's very tangible, it challenges our survival buttons, it threatens our livelihoods and also our safety, and all of the other things that we, as a group of souls who are evolving above that benchmark of polarity, we are experiencing every single attempt to hold us in that field: fear, control, anger. And it's been in existence for a very, very long time. So if you look at how our beautiful planet has been functioning for the last 10,000 years, it's been functioning via social control, via ego. And in order to get masses of people to comply with an ideology, you have to produce fear of an unknown form. So during, say, the last 2,000 years, has been very much control has been exerted via religious means. So you would have various countries writing about a deity, a figure, a god, who will punish those with, say for the sake of example, hell, if a certain set of rules and regulations or social diktats aren't adhered to. And a lot of these are common sense. A lot of these are things that we should know are right and wrong, but also a lot of them have been written by man. Okay, so these institutions, these very powerful organizations, have written what we have perceived as religion over the thousands of years, and applied them as to the group to create control. And that's very much what's happening again at the moment, but in the form of the unseen enemy that is attacking us. And this is what has promoted this kind of global lockdown, this global fear, is the potential of something which is invisible that will punish us if we do not adhere to the set of rules and regulations. So it's very funny how all of this is coming out again, but in a different form. But many of us, and this goes across the board. If you're a human being, you will have had your compassion and your heart-centeredness, your patience, your trust, and your love-centeredness challenged very much by what we are being presented with at the moment. If you haven't, then it's almost like little bit of a reality check, because to be human on this planet is to embody that humanness. To be human is to acknowledge your emotions, to acknowledge the shadows, to acknowledge the anger, to acknowledge the fear, and work with them. Work with them. Don't treat them as an enemy. Work with them. See where they take you. See what they lead you to. See what comes up, what the blockage is, what the trigger is, what the obstacle is, what the initiation is, and work through it. So at the moment, I'd say that we are unified in our compassion initiation, okay, as a group of souls leading the way into the light. We are now facing what can only be regarded as the ultimate test of our compassion, and the ultimate test of our understanding and our ability to see everything from a higher perspective, because we are constantly having our cages rattled by those that find our freedom, our sovereignty and our liberation and our higher consciousness a threat to the status quo. So here we are, okay, and this is what the higher realms are very much saying is going to be on our ascension table. What we are going to be kind of the kind of the hymn sheet that we're all kind of reading and singing from is all going to be based upon this collective experience, where it doesn't matter what country we're in, doesn't matter what we're tuned into, it doesn't matter about what is going on. We will all have these tests of our, basically our stability and our compassion and our unity, really prodded quite as much as they can be over the coming months. But this is a good thing, okay, because we can't really justify rolling into the fifth dimension with this elevated consciousness and this wish for a higher form of society if we are not up to speed on the things that really challenge us, really test us. That is why everything around us is occurring as it is, because we're doing it in such a short space of time. If we had longer to do this, it would be a different matter. We'd be learning the lessons over an extended period of time. But you and I and everybody else has agreed to make this jump shift in 20 years. So we've got to experience the really intense short-term effects of what is going to occur over these periods of months. Now, the more of us that are tuned in to a unified vibration and are all thinking of the same results, thinking from the heart, thinking basically with unified in our trust of the universe, then this is going to go smoothly. Okay, I know a lot of us are, including me, over the years, have been expecting the hammer to fall. Like, you know, oh, we're all waiting for it to get worse, waiting things to, like, you know, to go dark, go back to the Stone Ages, all of these other things that are triggering and really rattling our survival cages, because it's in the back of everybody's mind. It's not just in the back of our minds, it's ingrained into our DNA that this is what human beings experience when there's a shift of societal structures. But it doesn't have to be that way, and this is what is very important for the game plan at the moment, is to remain in love, remain in compassion, remain in kindness, and remain above that benchmark of polarity, even when challenged. And I mean really challenged. It's coming to our doorsteps. Instead of actually kind of like choosing to engage with it, where we go out and we find it, it comes to us. It's every part of the society around us is flexing or attempting to hold on to the previous way that it existed, and it's not. It's the things that don't work are disintegrating out, and the things that do work are already in place. The structures energetically are just simply there for us to move into. But while we have a vast mixture of us on planet Earth. We've got those that are plugged in and those that aren't. And the only way to unplug people, the only way to remove that veil from the third eye, to remove that attachment from the Ultra Major chakra, and bring everything into this unified sea of love, is via compassion. We're not going to do it by anger. We're not going to do it by shouting or tearing things down or setting fire or going to war. That's exactly what we're being invited to do. It's an act of compassion to understand where people are at the moment, where, you know, the person next to you in the coffee shop, the one who is automatically challenging you for your right, for your sovereignty, or it could be in a bank, it could be in a shop, it could be online, it could be a member of your family. This is somebody who ultimately is looking to you to lead the way, okay? Not fight with them, not be drawn into this fear, this field of anger, which is very, very intense. That, you know, anybody who's still plugged into the old way, into the old matrix, is incredibly fearful. There is this vibration of fear and control that is amplified. It's deliberately amplified. They've worked very, very hard to keep it that way. So to alchemize that, the opposite of fear is love, okay? Love, compassion, strength. It doesn't mean you've got to be a pushover, okay? Being compassionate doesn't mean being soft, being walked over, being a doormat. It means being strong, acting out of compassion. So in a lot of cases, you might be finding that you are having to do things out of compassion, which may appear to be wronging the other person, but it's not. It's all about the energy with which it is applied. Oh, Mr. Bug. And it's all about the energy with which you apply yourself to the situation. So, compassion. This is what I received as the message from the higher realms this morning, is as we enter this phase, as we are engaging in this very intensive retrograde filled month of October. I think so. Two big retrogrades finish on the 18th. Things start going stationary, and one of them is Mercury. I believe, although I'll probably be corrected immediately if I'm wrong in the comments, is Pluto. Okay, and once things start moving, once that bit of pressure is released, we feel it. It's like, oh, it's relief. But you know, as with Mercury retrogrades, there are obviously the physical things that go wrong, like computers don't work, cars don't start, stuff doesn't upload to Facebook, or Facebook crashes. You know, that was a good one. It's there's so many various theories on why that happened the other day, and immediately sort of like you take away the biggest source of contact, communication and social media on the planet. Everybody's got a theory or a version of a reality of events of why it occurred. You know, some people believe that but it doesn't matter what people believe. At the end of the day, whatever happens over the next few months will happen, okay? But setting the vibration for it to happen in is what we are aiming to do. Creating that field of unified compassion and love in order for these changes and these events to occur, and they will only transform and alchemize into love if that is what we are willing collectively for it to do. So I hope that makes sense. And talking of balance, on Sunday I will be running the 1010 portal event. I don't usually do events on Sunday, but because it is the 10th of the 10th, I'll be working to balance the planetary scales with the assistance of some master builders in the higher realms, and yeah, got some interesting stuff coming through for that. So hope you've all had a beautiful week, and wishing you all the most beautiful weekend. See you there on Sunday if you're coming along. If not, I'll be back on Monday with a walking meditation. Loads of love. Bye for now.